Joining us now on the phone is Steve Portnoy, CBS Radio Congressional reporter. I know, Steve, you've been listening in to this hearing as well. What are sort of the big points that you think are coming out of it so far?
Well, I think the headline so far is what we've heard from General Campbell this morning, that it was a mistake for the U.S. to bomb that hospital. 22 people died, including patients and hospital staff. The general says that he has ordered in-depth training of the entire Afghanistan force on the rules of engagement, and he said that the United States would never intentionally target a protected medical facility. He went further than he did in his press remarks at the Pentagon yesterday, saying that, in fact, the attack on the hospital, a sustained attack, was a mistake. Senators are asking questions about the degree of involvement of U.S. forces. General Campbell said today, as he did yesterday, that the attack was requested by Afghan forces on the ground. Members of Congress, certainly here in the Senate at the Armed Services Committee, want to know whether there was any kind of forward air controller, Americans on the ground, helping the attack or helping for the attack to take place. That remains to be seen at this point.
And Stephen, as you mentioned, 22 people were killed in that attack. I also want to ask you about Senator McCain. He was obviously frustrated during his questioning with General Campbell over President Obama's plan to withdraw more troops out of Afghanistan. What did you make of that?
Senator McCain says that wars do not end just because politicians say so. He has been critical of the fact that the United States pulled out of Iraq on the timetable set by the past administration, carried out by this administration, and he says he's very worried that if the United States pulls out of Afghanistan under the current schedule, that the Taliban will take over more cities. They've already taken over Kunduz, and that's the city where this hospital attack took place. So Senator McCain is calling on the president to rethink the plan to pull all U.S. forces out of Afghanistan sometime next year. There are about 10,000 U.S. troops now in country, and the plan is for the United States to draw back to an embassy force that would be stationed in Kabul. And one of the questions that was asked of General Campbell at the hearing this morning is whether it's possible to conduct counterterrorism operations just from an embassy. And the general seemed to suggest that it's not possible to do that.
And Steve, part of Senator McCain's argument in regards to this hospital attack is that maybe it would not have even occurred because the reason that there was a counteroffensive is because the Taliban took over Kunduz, and if there had been enough American troops around, perhaps that wouldn't have happened.
It bolsters McCain's argument that the drawdown schedule is just not apt, that it doesn't match with the conditions on the ground. You're going to be hearing more about this from other Republicans on the panel, and increasingly you'll hear it in the presidential race as well, I presume.
Well, speaking of on the ground, we did hear from General Campbell say that he doesn't see the same infighting in Afghanistan as he does in Iraq. Did that strike you?
Well, he's talking about the unique conditions in Afghanistan. He also said something interesting, and that is that this particular fighting season, in his mind, is not to be compared with other fighting seasons in the past. He's also said that the current Afghan government is much better than the one that had the previous Afghan President Hamid Karzai, who was seen as a corrupt actor. That the current Afghan President Ashraf Ghani is a much more equitable leader who is trying to pull together coalitions. He also says that Kabul is secure and that the Taliban is being, well, I guess, isolated in Kunduz. He also says that Al-Qaeda, the terrorist group that actually organized the 9/11 attack, is on the run and is currently in a fight for survival.
All right, Steve Portnoy, CBS Radio Congressional correspondent, thank you so much.